I failed my first NCLEX. Because of that, it actually discouraged me to pursue my nursing career. Baka hindi to para sa akin. But I do believe about God's blueprint that is, printed in you.
Yes.
And if the Lord or God has planned for you to do this or to do that, it will happen. So, ngayon sa mga nurses na who are planning to go to the US but is really struggling, keep going. It's not gonna be easy.
Yeah.
But when you fulfill your dream, it's gonna be all worth it. Filipino nurses are very smart. Malaki ang potential natin when we go to the US. Just keep going and eventually, you're gonna be able to reach your dream.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, nurses. My name is Chris from Nasya Business Consultancy Services. We are a processing company that provide assistance to medical professionals around the globe. Our services is for NCLEX USA, NCLEX Australia, NCLEX Canada, visa screen, license endorsement, and any other licensure exam application process. And of course, we are proud that we have our guest speaker today, all the way from California, USA. We have Nurse Kendra Dianne Torres, Ciocon, RN, USRN. How are you, ma'am?
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad to be here, to be back here in the Philippines for a short vacation, but visiting Nasya and of course meeting the people behind the back of Nasya. It's very good to meet each and every one of you guys.
Wow, thank you so much, ma'am. So many of nurses would like to know your current role in the US right now. Saan po kayo nagtatrabaho? And of course, how's the life of being a nurse in the United States?
So basically, I've been working as a detox nurse in a small local hospital in the city in Southern California. So being a detox nurse, I work more on patients who are diagnosed with substance abuse disorder. Basically, these are the alcoholics, opiate dependents, or drug addicts, basically.
Wow.
So it's a bit challenging, at the same time fulfilling, because these patients are exactly, they want a change in their life.
Wow.
And being part of that, it means like you are being part of the change that they are looking for.
Wow.
So challenging siya, but fulfilling at the same time.
That's good. And at the same time, talk about how's the life of a nurse in the US. Of course, you have your family with you.
Okay, so it's hard to balance family and work life. Okay, usually full-time nurses in the United States, they just require you 3 days a week of work. So basically, yung husband ko nag-work siya ng 3 days, and then while I take care of the kids, and then when I work that another 3 days, he takes care of the kid. So it's more on how you become a team in order for this to work out.
Wow.
So it's very difficult, especially if you are like a single parent. It's gonna be difficult to find somebody who would take care of your kids, because sa US naman, hindi naman talaga uso yung may mayaya unless you have really the capacity to pay. But if you have other family who can take care of your kids, that would be nice. But for us, in our case, we are working as a team, working and balancing family life.
Wow, that's good to know. So kailangan you work together as a team. Now, let's talk about with the ratio of the patients, because here in the Philippines, common problems or challenges of nurses, they have a lot of patients with them. So with your current role in your hospital right now, how's the ratio?
So that is a good question, no? So usually, this is feeling ng mga tao, magaan ang life as a nurse in the US comparing here in the Philippines. I have tried being part of working here before in the hospital here in the city, in Davao City, and I've noticed like one nurse is to, let's say, 100, almost 100 patients, and it's really very difficult. But in the US, it depends on the state. It depends on which state you belong. There are certain laws, there are certain protocols that we need to follow. In the state of California, we are to have a maximum of 5 patients per nurse. So basically, taking care of the patient is really a little bit manageable kasi you're just gonna be focusing on just 5 patients at a time in your shift.
Wow, that's good to know, no? Compared dito sa Pilipinas. Now, there are many nurses who are still planning to take the NCLEX. Some of them are still preparing to take the NCLEX. And we want to go back with your journey back then in your preparation to take the NCLEX. How do you manage your time? What inspires you and motivates you to become a registered nurse in the US?
Okay, for some nurses who didn't know about my experience, I first took my NCLEX way back in 2008, right after I graduated.
Wow.
And during that first attempt, I failed my first NCLEX. And because of that, it actually discouraged me to pursue my nursing career. And because of that, maybe I thought, maybe baka hindi to para sa akin. So I shifted to a different career, which I really like, which is the culinary.
Wow.
So it's a long story, but for all those years after taking that NCLEX, I focus more on the other career which I really want, which is cooking and baking. And I actually lost my focus on the nursing itself. But I do believe about God's blueprint that is, printed in you.
Yes.
Whatever you do, whatever situation you are in, if you are being called to be someone, you are designed, you have a plan, you have a purpose. And if the Lord or God has planned for you to do this or to do that, it will happen. So for me, in my case, I went to a different career, different careers for years. But the Lord has, brought me to the US. And because of that, it gave me an opportunity to take again another attempt of NCLEX. And during this time, after 15 years, I made it. So, what I'm saying, Sir Chris, marami kasing mga nurses ngayon na nasa ibang career na rin.
Yes.
Kasi ang hirap maghanap ng work, especially in the hospitals in the Philippines. Ang hirap maghanap ng work with the salary-wise is really, we understand, it's a little bit kulang talaga. I do understand na nawawala na tayo ng gana and we're thinking maybe this is not for us. But I do believe na kung yan ang planado ng Diyos para sa'yo, it can really happen in time.
Wow, that's good to know, no? So, Ma'am Kendra waited for 15 years to get back to nursing again, okay? And of course, being a nurse in the US, you have the benefits, the compensation. These are some of the questions of nurses of what the benefits I can get in the US, what life I can get in the US. Can you talk about it?
When we started, it's really difficult to start, a life in a different country. The comfort zone, dito marami tayong family members na tutulong sa atin, marami tayong ate, kuya, can you do this, can you do that for me? But it's really a struggle for me when I moved to the US, specifically yung role mo sa bahay, like being used to have somebody na ate, paluto ng ganito.
Yes.
In the US, it's gonna be you, plus you're gonna be working at the same time. So, it's a real adjustment, but when you get your salary, when you get everything, it's gonna be all worth it na masasabi mong pinaghirapan ko to. It's kind of an achievement for you and something that you're gonna be looking forward to strive hard para, again, you keep reaching your dream.
Wow, that's good to know. And now, Ma'am, many nurses as well is asking about the opportunities in the US. So being in the field, being a nurse in California, though there are announcements from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics that there are about 203,200 nurses needed each year. So talk about the demand of nurses. Why these Filipino nurses aspiring to become a USRN or aspiring to work in the United States still continue working on their goals? Because right now, parang hindi mo na ako mag-proceed kasi yung status ng visa bulletin. So what are your message and advices to them about it?
Okay. So basing on retrogression, maraming nagsasabi na nurses na mamaya ko na i-process yung papers ko kasi it's still retrogression right now. But if you know, just this month, nag-move na naman yung dates natin, which is, I think current, it's February 2023.
Yeah.
And this is a good sign na kung kayo, you've been preparing for this application for years at nakapila ka na, maybe nabelong ka na doon sa date na yon, it's good that your first foot or one foot is already there.
Yes.
Compared to just waiting and then, okay na yung dates ngayon pa ako magpa-process. You don't know, maybe next month, next year, magre-retrogress again. So, the retrogression should not stop you from moving your foot forward. You should take the first step. Initially, you can just maybe process your NCLEX application, start reviewing, taking the NCLEX exam. So when you pass it, your name is already there. When the retrogression or the date is already current, then you can go ahead and maybe get a working visa, get a green card, and work as a nurse in the US.
Wow. And you have experienced this one as well back then?
Yes. I believe in that because my husband also experienced retrogression. And during that time, hindi lang months, hindi lang 1 or 2 years, but it took him more or less 5 years,
wow,
I believe,
5 years.
or more. So, we waited and we waited. But he already processed, kumbaga, lahat ng pwedeng i-process like NCLEX, CGFNS, IELTS, and everything. And for me, hindi ko siya na-experience. It's because when I took my NCLEX, I was already in the US.
Wow, yeah.
So that's why. But being in that particular situation, it's really hard if nag-aantay ka lang. So, instead of, just waiting and doing nothing, process everything, start the NCLEX exam, and then maybe if your one foot is already there, then maybe you can do the side trip, mag-work ka muna as whatever your current work that you want to do. Like for me, like culinary, or if you are into business, do that while waiting.
While waiting for the visa bulletin to move forward.
That's true.
So, yun nurses, no? So, yung retrogression is hindi hadlang, no? Para sa pag-abot ng mga pangarap natin. You can start with your NCLEX. Once you pass the NCLEX, you can start with your visa screen and license endorsement. That's the most important thing. And of course, tulad ng sinabi natin kanina, when it comes to the demand of nurses, it's really, really high. And there's a lot of opportunity na naghihintay sa inyo once you pass the NCLEX. Now, Coach Kendra, you are also our success coach in Nasya, and you have helped hundreds of nurses to pass the NCLEX. And you always talk about the management, you always talk about how do you manage yourself during the exam. What are your message and advices to our nurses preparing for their NCLEX? What are the strategy, what are the study guide strategy that you can, share to them?
Okay. Number 1 is focus. Okay?
Wow.
So, you cannot really go into your examination, your review, if you don't have focus.
Yes.
It's really very important kasi if your mind is distracted, you cannot study. You cannot perform well if you're gonna be answering some Q banks. You cannot really pour your heart into it if you are distracted.
Wow.
So make sure, as I always say, each and every accomplishment start with a decision to try.
Yes.
So if you have decided to try, pour your whole heart into it. Hindi pwedeng, ay, sige, mag-start na ako, but then, medyo mamaya na lang. Yung ganun, yung atras abante. If you decide right now, then go for it.
Wow. And of course, there are a lot of nurses who is currently working. And of course, being a mom, you already experienced that one, right? So, what are the study guide that you can share to them? Is there a strategy on how to create that one? Things like that.
Okay. So, I graduated my nursing 2007. And 15 years after, ito na yung mag-retake again ako ng second attempt of NCLEX. And many people are also have the same experience na, hala, ganun din ako. So, I can relate to Coach Kendra na after 15 years or more, eto, babalik ulit ako sa books, babalik ulit ako sa pagre-review.
Yes.
And it's really difficult. It's a struggle because you don't know where to start. I experienced that too. I had difficulty and I struggled a lot kung anong mga review materials ang gagamitin ko. And one thing I feel that it's gonna be a challenge and it's really hard to start. But here's the thing. Kung alam mo yung concept mo, you start with the concepts. Basically, you really have to focus yourself maybe months before your exam. So you plan ahead kailan ako mag-take ng exam. If you can budget, kung kaya mo more or less 6 months preparation, that will do. Maybe for the first 3 months, you just read, relax. But on the last 1 or 2 months, you have to be, intense studying. So with me, when I reviewed for my NCLEX, I have a 1-year-old that time and a toddler. So it's really a struggle for me as a mom to take care of the kids and at the same time mag-study with my NCLEX. So usually I study when it's nighttime. I make time, I make way na makapag-study even though the kids are there. There are certain times of the day, example like kahit naguhugas ka ng plato or even naglalaba ka. There are ways, especially listening to audio, just reading a book when you're cooking at the same time. Find ways. It wouldn't stop you from studying. So itong mga situations na to, kung gusto mo talagang gawin, it can really happen. Some of us, we have a lot of excuses. So for us, we have a lot of excuses na I can't study kasi may anak ako. I can't study because I have work. But here's the thing. So work, you have your free time.
Yes.
So work, you have lunch break, you have snack break. You can always squeeze in a little bit of information, reading, listening the audio. When you're at home, when you're with your family, at the same time you're eating your dinner, and you can just play the background as maybe a review from certain review centers, wherein it can help you even though you're not really listening so much, but repeating it, it goes to the back of your mind, and it can remind you, oh, I've listened to this while it might be a reminder, oh, nung naghuhugas ako ng plato, I've listened to this and I remember this was the exact question. So may mga ganon, you really have to find ways, and it shouldn't stop you. You have to balance and put your heart into it. You have actually sacrificed a lot when it comes to time, financially as well. Hindi ganun ka nimura mag-take ng NCLEX, and it takes a lot. So pour your heart into it para worth it. Pag nakapasa ka, it's all gonna be worth it.
That's good to know, ma'am. So you are always talking about this discipline and consistency from time to time. If you have that one, you will pass the NCLEX. And of course, we're talking as well about the expenses that they have for the NCLEX. What's the good thing about right now is that once you pass the NCLEX, all the expenses that you have will be reimbursed by the employers. For example, the NCLEX, the business screen, and the license endorsement, it will be shouldered by the employee. So they have that program right now. What really stopping them to achieve their goals is that, okay, retrogression ngayon, baka hindi pa ako mag-proceed. And of course, it's good to know that you have this experience to our nurses that you can share. We would like to know if you do have a recommendation, review materials, or Q-banks that our nurses can use for them to pass their NCLEX.
Okay, so here in Nasya, we have our own review if you download the app, and our coach is gonna be Coach AJ. So you can avail of that. Aside from that, we have a lot of Q banks that you can also access. Plus, at the same time, I would always recommend. I haven't mentioned this one, sir, but to my coaching sessions, I always say to listen to like a meditation from David McGraw. So it's more of it's not really part of nursing, but basically it's gonna be working with your anxiety, it's gonna be working with your psychological aspect. So it helps a lot boosting your confidence, and when you are boost up, when you are confident about yourself, it's gonna be very easy for you to answer the questions that is being asked.
Wow. Thank you so much for that one, ma'am. Now, let's move forward with the demand of nurses in the US. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are about 203,300 nurses needed each year from 2021 to 2031. So we're talking about millions of nurses. Now, many of nurses here in the Philippines may work experience or walang work experience. Is it true na kung wala kang work experience, employers will still hire you to be in their facility or in their hospital?
Okay, that's a good question. So, of course, employers would want you to have an experience. That is a plus, that is a bonus. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter if you have like a long experience or
Mhm.
short experience or even no experience. There are facilities, there are hospitals in the US who can accept you basing on a new grad program,
Mhm.
wherein I was part of it.
Mhm.
I am not actually a new grad, but since I am recently, I passed my NCLEX maybe like 4 years ago.
Wow.
When I started in that hospital, I was considered as a new grad.
Wow.
Okay, so a new grad program gives you a kind of special program wherein you have a preceptor who's gonna be working with you. You're gonna have a preceptor who's gonna be working with you for like roughly 8 to 12 weeks.
Mhm.
So you're gonna be trained on a certain unit where you are,
Mhm.
and tutulungan ka nila hanggang sa kaya mo na on your own.
Wow, they have this
So,
kind of support.
Yes. So, that is really good kasi for me, I am really nervous na hala, ganito, hindi ko alam paano to gawin. Hindi ko alam yung mga procedures since when I was in the Philippines, I was on a different career.
Yes.
And coming in here and going inside a hospital, I don't know all these things. So, basically, it really helped me boost my confidence na pagdating doon, meron palang ganitong program wherein they're really gonna help you. They are really very supportive na tulungan ka hanggang sa kaya mo na on your own.
Wow.
And of course, I just wanna say, when you are a USRN, it doesn't only limit you on a bedside nursing or hospital experience. So ito, Sir Chris, it's really a good start if you start on a hospital setting and experience all these procedures, all this taking care of patients. But after that, maybe years, if you think I'm not a bedside nurse, you can shift to another kind of nursing experience, which is marami. Telehealth nursing, wherein nasa office ka lang or nasa bahay ka lang, makikipag-usap ka sa patients, maybe triaging the patient before they can go to the ER. There are also other avenues like home health, wherein you just come and drive to the patient's house and follow up after their hospital admission. So maybe you can follow up to them. Other than that, meron ding maraming clinics wherein you just work Monday to Friday, and then it's just like a clinic setting, basically. Check up vital signs, mga ganun lang. And a lot more of nursing roles, not only limited to bedside nursing. But as I've said, it's really good na ma-experience mo na nila yung bedside nursing so that they have a kind of experience na alam nilang gawin pag sakaling they can experience this in other areas naman of nursing.
Wow, that's good to know na itong mga nurses natin na walang work experience, still they have the opportunity to work in the US just like you. Now, there are a lot of nurses, no? Yung mga nurses na nagsisimula pa lang ng NCLEX, ang palagi nilang sinasabi, ma'am, is I want to be deployed in California. Now, they cannot process, or we cannot process NCLEX or license endorsement right away because it needs to have an SSN. Now, these are the reason. Nurses want to be in California. Ngayon, if hindi possible sa kanila yung California, the process would be license endorsement. What are your advices to nurses who wants to be in California, but for now, they cannot be in California? Let's say they will be deployed in New York in the meantime.
Okay, that's a good question, no? So, we have the same experience because when my husband arrived in California, it took him 3 months, roughly 3 months, to get his USRN licensure. So, during those 3 months, you're just gonna have to wait kasi pagdating mo, right away, bibigyan ka ng SSN, and that's the time you can start processing your license. Yes. So, some of us would also advise, let's say you start with going to another state, which is New York, wherein they won't ask for an SSN. And then when you are there, you can just go ahead. When you are in the New York, you get your SSN number and do a license endorsement to California. So while waiting, you are already in New York. Maybe you can work maybe a couple of months or maybe a year in New York or in other states. And then that's the time, pag meron ng na-process mo na yung license mo, o license endorsement to California, that would be easier, an easier process compared to just been waiting in California for so long. And
I want to go back to that question because the question would always be, what's in California? Because many of nurses wants to live in California, wants to work in California. maybe because of the benefits, because of the salary compared to other states. So what's your thought about it?
Okay. Number one, Filipinos like California, maybe because of the weather.
Wow.
Kasi California is one of the closest weather to the Philippines. Even though it gets cold, it doesn't get cold as New York na may snow. But basically, weather-wise, it's like close to the Philippines. But when it comes to salary-wise, California, I believe, is one of the highest paying state when it comes to nurses, aside from Hawaii. But California is one of them. And California has a lot of law that protects nurses. Especially like yung sinasabi natin kanina, sir, when it comes to nurse-patient ratio. So, most of us nurses are being covered with that law. So kaya maganda yung opportunities ng nurses in California. Wow,
that's good to know. And we have our partner employers based in California, but of course, the only way for you to get hired is you need to pass the NCLEX. And of course, what are your message and advices to other nurses preparing for their NCLEX or still planning to take the NCLEX? What are your message and advices to them?
So my advice to each and every nurse here in the Philippines and everywhere, if you have a dream, don't stop until you reach that dream.
Wow.
I have a verse from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a good future.
Wow.
So sometimes we are experiencing some difficulties, some challenging journey, but it should not stop us from reaching our dream. So if you, right now, you are struggling, maybe because you are experiencing that, because something good is gonna come your way. So ngayon sa mga nurses na who are planning to go to the US but is really struggling, keep going. It's really hard. I'm gonna say, I'll be honest, it's not gonna be easy. But when you fulfill your dream, it's gonna be all worth it. So patuloy lang, keep going, nurses. And we are smart. Filipino nurses are very smart. So malaki ang potential natin when we go to the US. We are very, when we take care of patients, we have this special, tender, loving care wherein our patients really like. So just keep going and don't be afraid to try new things and be out of your comfort zone. And eventually, you're gonna be able to reach your dream.
Thank you so much for that one, ma'am. So one step at a time. For now, you start processing your NCLEX, take your NCLEX, and pass the NCLEX. And after that one, there's a lot of opportunity na naghihintay sa inyo. So if you are still planning to take your NCLEX, wanted to avail our free assessment and evaluation, send a message to Nasya Business Consultancy Services, and we are going to help you and guide you all throughout your journey, and of course, to achieve your goals and to become a USRN. Thank you, nurses. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.